Great. Hello, everyone. I know not everybody's from South Africa, so good evening for those in South Africa and good morning to those joining from the US. Thank you very much for joining. It's quite a cold evening here. We are in Pretoria, South Africa, and they're forecasting quite a lot of cold, so we already feel it. I hope you are warm at home and you have a cup of coffee or a cup of hot chocolate ready for the session. You'll see that you are currently on mute. That's a forced mute just to allow the presenter to present without any interruptions. We will allow you to unmute yourselves towards the end of the webinar. There will be an opportunity for you to ask questions. So you're also welcome in the meantime to pop your questions in the chat. I'll consolidate and I will present the questions to Peter, but you're welcome to participate live towards the end of the session, and then I will allow you to unmute yourself. Ladies and gentlemen, they have warned us that we might get a power failure. We have got a plan B in place. So if for some reason we lose Peter, don't stress, just stay connected. He will then switch to plan B and he'll join us shortly after the disconnect. We believe that it won't happen, but we do have a plan B in place. And then for those that don't know Peter, I think most of you, if I've looked at the names, have met him. Peter is the author and the functional developer of the Shadowmatch system, and he currently still holds the role as head of research and development at Shadowmatch. He worked as a minister of religion in the Dutch Reformed Church for 12 years, where he spent a lot of time working with young people and their parents and families to try and help people to craft a career, to find meaning in life, to deal with failure. And that's why I think this evening you will find a lot of value again, as with previous webinars where you've joined, to listen to Peter and to listen to his insights as to what do you do when you are finishing school or finishing your studies at a tertiary education, when you are thinking of maybe taking a gap year, maybe not. I think the insights that Peter will be sharing this evening will be very valuable. And I want to encourage you afterwards, I'll send the recording to you either this evening, today, or tomorrow. You're welcome to share the recording with any of your friends. They don't have to wait for a next webinar. Please share the recording as wide as possible because we would like to add this value to many people. Peter, thank you very much. Over to you.
Thank you, Lizette. Hi, everybody. As Lizette said, we will go through the question of a gap year. I know that a lot of people think about gap years. Lizette mentioned two types of gap years or two moments when you leave high school. That could be a possibility to say, but maybe it's time for me for a gap year and I'm just in the mood for taking a break. I'm a bit tired of continuously being under stress and studying and working and attending classes. But also when we finish college or university, a lot of young people then consider taking a gap year before they go full time into the world of work. But there are also other situations where people take a gap year. It could happen when somebody has been in a job or in a career for many years, and they just decide to take a break, and they then take a 1 year or 18 months break just for the reason that they are just finished. But then there are forced gap years. In other words, it's not by choice, you are forced. Let's say, for instance, a mother of a child decided that it's important for her to look after the baby for 12 months or 16 or 18 months because she feels that that's her parental role. And after 18 months, then the question is, okay, where do I now start in terms of designing the future and the future possibilities that might be for me and might be optimal for me. So there are other situations as well. You know, when people work for 5, 6, 7 years and they then decide to go back to study something, and then after those studies, they decide whether they want to take a gap year or not. So what I will be doing tonight is I will share with you a lot of information. Let's start by sharing you the screen. And then there will be a lot of information during the evening that I will share with you. And it will be quite an overload of information, and I will try my best to make it as clear, because when I started with the research, I realized that the topic is a bit more challenging than what I personally anticipated it to be. So let's have the first look at something very interesting. You'll see at the right bottom of your screen, there's a reference to this website. It's a research website, and it's where I got this information from. So it's www.gapyearassociation.org. Now, this is a very interesting study that they have conducted amongst young people, when school leavers and university and college students that finished their studies, in terms of what were the reasons that motivated them to take a gap year. And you will immediately see something very interesting. Here on the big purple bubble on the sort of center left, you've got 92% of the participants in the research said that they wanted to gain experiences and personal growth. We will talk a lot about that topic tonight. Then in the brown circle, just to your right of it, wanted to travel, see the world, and experience other cultures. A very high percentage of individuals also referred that as the reason. And then on 81% here, wanted a break from academic track. This is quite a strong reason amongst young people. They just feel that 12 years or whatever number of years they spend in training and academic, if you study, if you're at school for 12 years and then 4 or 5 years at university, you've got 16, 17, sometimes even 18 years of academic training behind you. And then they just feel it's time now to take a break. Especially this results came especially from young people leaving college or university. So they wanted to take a break then. Then wanted to explore academic pursuits. In other words, they want to explore the possibilities of studying. Wanted to volunteer. This is an interesting thing that I will reference again a little bit later. And then want to explore careers. This is a very positive one. Want to learn new language. This is fantastic. I think it's a great reason. Parents and friends encouraged. 31% said that amongst the reasons were the fact that they were encouraged by parents and peers or friends. And then we can stop at this one, wanted work experience. This is something that I'm very positive about, and the research indicates that this is one of the very, very positive things that could be highlighted as a very credible reason for taking a gap year. So this is the research, this is what they have found. I went into the research mode and I discovered a few things. I discovered that there are 4 types of gap years. We can cluster the gap year activities into 4 clusters or into 4 groups. There's the first one, we refer to this as a dead gap year. And I'm just going to describe these ones very quickly because then I'm going to go into the detail. A dead gap year indicates I do nothing. I do nothing. For 1 year, I do absolutely nothing. Or I do whatever I feel like doing. If I feel like sleeping until 11 o'clock tomorrow morning, I sleep until 11 o'clock. If I feel like tomorrow morning I'm going to get up at 5 and go and play squash with a couple of friends, and then have coffee with a few friends at a coffee shop, come back home and sleep for the rest of the day. That's it. I am dead for the year. I can do whatever I want. And if it's nothing, or if it's as minimal as possible, it is the best. Then the second group of gap year takers go on a vacation or a traveling gap. Now they refer to this as a traveling gap. So normally they join a company that facilitates the process, and they go on a world tour. They go to Europe and they get on a train and they go right through to Russia, from there to China, and then back into Europe, and then they travel by boat. maybe to North Africa, and they do a tour of North Africa. But it's a traveling, and it's a gap year that the aim is to tour the world and to learn and experience other languages, other cultures, other people, other places, other cities, other ways of life and work. The third group is the adventure gap year. This is quite a strong one. It's been promoted by a lot of gap year companies. They sell it as a service. And the catchphrase here is, I want to experience the adventures in life. It's a great, normally they go on to sea experiencing the sea, learn to surf. They go hang gliding and mountaineering, and they go into the bush, and they live for a few weeks amongst the wild animals. But it's driven by an adventure that they want to experience. And then number 4 is a working gap year. This one is on the previous slide. You will remember that a percentage of the young people indicated that they want to gain working experience. This is, I want to experience a working life. And there's a catch in this. I want to be self-sustained. In other words, I want to earn an income that can sustain my lifestyle. So let's have a look at some of the detail. Let's start with the group number 1, the dead gap year. I do nothing, absolutely nothing. The problem with this gap year, and research have indicated that a lot of the young people on this gap year said that frustrations just become too much to handle. It just, eventually, doing nothing just gets the upper hand of me, and I can't do nothing anymore. And they normally quit the gap year within 3 to 4 months, and then they don't know how to finish the year before the next academic take-in at university, college, or one of other learning institutions starts, and then the frustrations become very horrible. The energy to work is compromised. This is the high risk area of the dead gap year students or young people. They lose their energy to work. They learn a new habit. Now, I've spent my life in trying to understand habits. Habits are powerful things in our brain. And once a habit has been formed and well embedded in the brain, it's very difficult to break it. So what happens for the individual on a dead gap here is they build a new habit in their brain, and that is not to work. And now they can't gather the energy to start a working life again. The habit of not working becomes too strong to break. It's part of the previous point. The energy and the habit just to re-engage a working life it's a bridge too far for them, and they just can't do it. Then normally these students, or those students who do not fully, it's for those students who do not fully understand that life is a working reality. Others must provide for me: parents, family, employer, school. It seems in the research, guys and girls, and for those adults in the room, it seems like there's a certain mindset that is being attracted by this gap here, and that is the mindset that do not fully understand the realities of life as a working reality. It's as if some of these youngsters during interviews indicated that life is a source that must give to me. They must give me a job, give me an income, give me this, give me that, give me these privileges. So it's for those a very attractive way of spending a year. A high percentage of these students fail to launch. They can't get themselves going again. They just cannot. And the percentage is quite scary. In some research, it is as high as 65% of them really struggle to get their working life going again. So this one is not a positive recommendation. We must be very careful to go with this. And then another one is they fail at building a sense of self-value. What happens to these people is after a few months, they've lost their sense of self-value, and they ask questions of like, what's the meaning of life, and why am I here and what will change if I'm not here. I don't feel that I contribute to anybody. I'm not making a difference. And this is a very, very negative spiral for the psychology of these people. The next cluster, the second one, is the vacation and traveling gap, the world tour type. It's great for personal growth. This is a great opportunity for personal growth, to learn, to experience. It's a fantastic experience. There's nothing in life that can teach you and take you through the experiences that a world tour with fellow students, fellow young people or other people, even if it's adults and they go on such a tour in a group. It's a wonderful, wonderful learning experience. It changes your view of the world and people. You see how other people live. You suddenly realize how big the world is and how many people there are. This teaches you things that you can only learn by traveling. Some of the things in life we can't learn by watching TV, watching a movie, or going to the cinema, or playing golf around the corner on the neighboring golf course. You have to experience it. And this is one of those things. It teaches you the wonderful things in life that you can only learn by traveling. And that experience comes obviously at a cost. Then it's said to be the best way of turning children into adults. This is something that actually caught my eye in a white paper that I read in one of the university studies in London. And they said that students that come back from a 1-year traveling gap, they behave very much in a more adult style at university, college, learning institution, technicon, whatever it is, than their peers that just leave high school. So in that sense, it's a very positive thing, but there's a big but. It's very expensive. It is extremely expensive. So somebody must sponsor you. Then on behalf of your parents, my request is, don't expect this from your parents if their budget is tight, and you will know if they can afford it. If your parents are not in a good financial position, this 1-year stretch will, traveling gap will seriously stretch their income and their finances. And then the last one on the list on the but is, but you are the only beneficiary. And a lot of young people said after this year that they felt it was a bit selfish from their side to do this, because they now realize how much it cost, how expensive it was, and they were the only ones that benefited from this program. Then it's difficult to get back to work. Obviously, guys and girls and adults around the table, it's difficult from such a traveling. You can just think about a 6-week holiday to go back to work. Imagine you were on a 1-year holiday. It's very tough to get back into the working life. The third group is the adventure gap year. I want to experience the adventures in life. Now, this is the gap year where young people will join a company that facilitates the process. They go into the wild. They live in other countries under harsh conditions. Sometimes they learn new things. They go and live in a big city. Sometimes they work part-time for a week or 2 days or 3 days on a project. And that is then being described as an adventure gap year. It makes you very streetwise. In other words, you learn the ropes of a practical life in the streets of the world, in the corridors of the battles that people need to fight. You experience serious challenges in terms of an adventure trip, and you realize how hard it is for some people to make a living. And in some instances, you've got to join them. You've got to live amongst them. And you've got to live the lives that they live to experience the hardships that they experience. So you learn the hard ropes of a streetwise person. Makes your mind strong. If you select the right program, sometimes you select the wrong one. Now, what is the wrong program? Some of these programs are extremely tough. They seriously challenge your mind, your physical condition, your health. You live under very tough conditions, and they will never say that when they recruit and when they sell the program. But if you some of these programs are just not, it's just too tough. And a lot of the young people just give up halfway and they say, no, I want to go back. Let me rather go back to what I know. Sometimes programs are just too tough and the participants leave, as we have already said. It could be great fun, obviously, if you select the right program, but this is a bit of a risk. If you select the wrong program, the ride can just be too hard. But if you select the right program, it could be great fun. If it's a nice and a clean adventure program under good conditions where you really learn the fun and the adventures of life in a positive way, it's great fun. But sometimes the programs just take the guys and the girls to places where it's not all that comfortable and it's just a bit too close to the edge of a healthy lifestyle. Then most of the young people experience higher levels of self-confidence. They come back feeling very strong. They feel good about themselves. They feel that they have achieved something. They've done a few things that other people might not have done. They jumped out of an aeroplane. They did cliff hanging. They did scuba diving, etc., and it builds their confidence. But again, exactly the same as the previous. It is very expensive. Parents take a serious financial knock if one or two of their kids are on such an adventure gap year. And again, you are the only beneficiary, and just be careful. You might feel that you've been a bit selfish to claim this huge benefit just for yourself at the cost of other people's financial situation. So now we come to gap year number 4, or gap year type 4. And now you will immediately hear that my tone of voice and my way of talking you through this one will change. There's a reason, and you can guess the reason and maybe drop a guess in the chat box so that Lizette can say, why am I going to change my tone of voice and the speed at which I present this? What do you pick up as an early indication, as a reason why I have now changed? A working gap year. This is when somebody says, I want to experience a working life, and I want this year to be self-sustained. In other words, I want to work for an income that can sustain and pay for my own expenses to live, buy my own food and clothes, maybe pay for my own accommodation, and experience what it is like in the real world of working. Now, guys and girls, students from an active working gap year mostly outperform their peers at college and university. The percentage of these students outperforming their peers is very, very high. It could be in some cases as high as 80% of them outperform the average performance of their fellow students who came either right from high school or from college into further studies. So they outperform their peers in terms of the success rate at which they complete their studies as well. Another thing is, if they, after 1 year of gap work, start to go into a full-time, long-term working career, they also outperform the new recruits that start with them. So their performance is just above the edge. Studying makes much more sense for these students. Suddenly, guys and girls, they understand, why do we have to study? And what is the reason behind this whole study thing? A lot of people say you don't have to study to be a success in life. It's true. It's very true. I'm the first person to say it. You don't have to have some fancy qualification to make a huge success out of life. I will tell you, if you join the 4 webinars at the end of the month, to craft your own career path and your career plan, I will tell you stories of people who had no qualifications and they became the chief operating and chief executive officers of major companies in the world. And these are real cases. These are real cases. So it's not, it doesn't mean you have to have it. But when these students go back to university, college, or tertiary institution, or training institution, or whatever they want to take up as a learning and development program, suddenly they listen to the lecturers with different ears. They read their textbooks with different eyes. They ask different questions to lecturers and to teachers and to their professors. They take a different mindset on the world of learning. So it's because they want to make sense out of the learning content. It's just not learning for the sake of learning. They want to know, but what sits behind this? The next point that we need to be aware of is that they have a much better understanding of life than their non-working gap year peers. It is as if they are just a few steps in front of their peers. It's as if they understand the world of finance, the world of work, the world of discipline, the world of performance management, the world of structure and self-motivation. They just have the edge of a higher level of awareness of who and what they are and where they want to go with their lives. The next one, number 4 on our list, is they are much more responsible with money. One of the things that young people, especially in the middle and upper income group, young people, and this is the group where the gap year is being taken, is they do not really understand how money works. And when they start working and they start earning their own salaries and their own income, sorry for that, they struggle because they just don't understand how money works. It seems on paper, it's very easy and it's very simple. It's not that easy. It's actually very tough to understand the principles of how to work out a budget and to live within that budget and to just spend what is available and not spend more than what is, what is available. So they are much more responsible with money. They build a very strong sense of self-value. These students come back to college or they step into the full-time career development paths of their lives, or they step into some learning institution, or where they get on-the-job training as a technician or whatever it might be, and they have a very strong sense of their own value. They feel good about themselves and they feel good about their abilities to be successful. So one of the last point here is they're working towards a very specific goal, much easier for them. These young people understand what are goals. They know that if you don't have a goal in life, you're going nowhere. If you don't have an outcome and work towards an outcome, your life is going nowhere. It's just a stagnant thing. It just stands still. You just work. You become a slave of the system. And these people understand what it is to have a goal and to work towards that goal. They normally become student leaders as college because they have goals in life. The challenge to move from university and college to the working environment is much easier for them. This is just a practical thing. To get from college, university, or learning institution back in the world of work for them is much easier. Now, the second topic for the night, for the evening, or for this webinar, guys and girls, is what are the reasons for taking a gap year? Now, what I want to do is I want to take you through bad reasons, and then I want to take you through good reasons. And I want to ask you, if you are considering a gap year, what is your reason? And you will most probably find your reason on the list. And I can be very honest with you, because this is just hard mechanical information out of the research that was done. Bad reasons are the reasons that is being given by people for whom the gap years didn't work. So they started off with a bad reason. Now, the first bad reason is, I don't know what to do, I'll take a gap year. I don't know what to do with my career. I don't know where to go with my career. So what is the solution? I'll take a gap year. It's a bad reason. It's a very bad reason. Because you will see a little bit later on in our discussion, I will share with you one of the things that I have discovered is that the problem doesn't go away by taking a gap year. In fact, the problem could increase. The problem could become larger. The challenge could become bigger. In most instances, when they come back from a gap year, they still don't know. And what then? Then the gap year becomes a gap 18 months, year and a half, and then it becomes 2 years. And I've worked with parents the other day, their son is on a gap now for 7 years. So what then? And the reason is, I don't know what to do. I don't know where to go with my life. So the fact that I'm uncertain just paralyzes me and I can't go anywhere. So it doesn't work. This is not a solution. There's no way that the problem will go away if you just say, okay, I'm going to take the problem. I'm going to think about this again next year. And if you take a gap year, it's not going to solve the problem. We don't solve these problems by chewing bubblegum. That's it. I'm tired of studying. I need a break. I'm not this. When this reason came up, and amongst the majority of young people who gave this as a reason, they struggle to get back to work and to study because the tiredness just doesn't go away. It seems to stay with them. So what happens is, I'm tired of studying means I'm actually tired of working, because and this is something that I just want to share with everybody. You see, guys and girls, is to study when you are in high school or in primary school, or in high school, or you are in tertiary education, college, university, technicon, whatever it is. The fact that you are a student is your job. That's your job. For that point in time of your life, your job is to be a student. So if you are tired of studying, it's just as well you say, I'm tired of having a job, because working and learning will not go away. If you start your working career one day at a big corporate or a big business or a mine or whatever it might be, the first few months, maybe first few years, will be learning. You will learn and you will study and you will gather new knowledge. So it's not a good reason. It's what we call a smokescreen reason. It's not a real reason. My friends will take a gap year and I want to join them. No, forever and a day. Don't do this. What if your friends decided never to work? Are you going to join them as well? The friendships go and friends move on and life moves on. This is a bad reason. I almost made this mistake when I left high school. I almost made this mistake, not by taking a gap year, but doing what a lot of my friends at that point in time went out and did. And it would have changed the direction of my entire life And I was very close of doing it. So don't allow your friends to decide on your life. It's not a clever thing to do. I want to enjoy and I want to experience life whilst I'm young. Why is this a bad reason? Because it actually says that when I'm a bit older, I can't enjoy life. It's not true. Most people will reflect back on their lives and say that the time that I enjoyed most was the time since I turned 40. In some instances, they reflect back and they say the time that I enjoyed most was the time since I turned 50. So enjoyment of life is not exclusive to young people. It's a sad story if this is the mindset that we need to take a gap here, because it actually says that you have decided that when I'm not young enough, I won't be able to enjoy life anymore. So I must take everything that I can now, because when I'm 30, 35, 40, 45, I won't be able to enjoy life. It's not true. It is by all means just not true. So this is a philosophy that you must just be careful of. Then I just want to get away from everything for a year. I have sad news. Everything will follow you wherever you go because it's in your mind. This thing of I want to get away from things doesn't work. I've been working with this challenge for many years with many people in counseling and coaching sessions. You don't run away and you don't get away from things. You take them with you. In fact, if you don't want to take them with you, watch them. They will follow you. They come with you, whether you like it or not. Whether you like it or not, the issues in our lives follow us. We cannot get away from them. They are like companions. They travel with you. They just don't want to leave you. So if you want to get away from anything, there's a much better position to take in, and that is, let me rather sort out my challenges now, here and where I am, instead of trying to get away from it, because you will one day, well, anyway, you will have to come back to it anyway. So, and then they will wait for you. If they didn't go with you, they will just wait for you and say, hello, welcome back. Here we are again. But there are great gap reasons. And I want to share these with you because there are really, really solid, good reasons why to take a gap year. The first one is, I want to see the world and learn. If you can do this, it is a wonderful thing to do. You will learn things that will stay with you for the rest of your life. My eldest daughter went to Germany on an exchange program, and she did 6 months of one of her high school years in Germany. She came back and she was fluent in German. She could speak it like the Germans speak it. She was absolutely capable of understanding and talking German. And up till now, she's got a very good working language of German. She learned the country, she learned the people, she learned the environment, the system. She came back streetwise, educated, in a completely different mindset. So if the reason for your gap year is I really have a deep desire to learn and see the world, it is one of the top positive reasons that you can have. I want to do something really different. This is a good reason. If you want to do something that is really different and you want to take a gap here to do that something, just make sure that the something that is really different suits your profile and your preferences, because sometimes the things that are really different do not suit us very well, and it's so different that we are indifferent with the difference. So it's a good reason. Just make sure that the really different thing is a good choice. Then I want to do fun things because I will work for the rest of my life. I don't like this reason, but it's been listed as one of the very positive ones. But for some reason, I personally don't like this. All the research indicate that this is being seen as a very positive result in the lives of young people who say, I want to do fun things. I want to have the experience of the fun in life without being strangled by responsibilities and by a job. So it's been said, and the research indicates this as a very positive reason, and that's why I will take that. I'm a researcher. I work with the science, but it's again. Let me share with you what my challenge with this reason is. There are fun things forever in life, but if you want to enjoy them now, obviously it's a good reason. And to take a year off having fun might be a good reason, but I'm not convinced that the mindset of this reason is all that positive. Then I want to experience what work is like. This is probably the best reason of all. This is most probably the best of all the reasons to take a working gap year. And this is the last one that we did on the list. Remember, I said I'm going to change my tone of voice and my way of talking through it. This is probably the best reason for taking a gap year. It's an honest reason. It's a well thought out reason. It's a reason with very good substance. It's not a runaway and hide away reason. It's a reason of, I want to face the reality of life and see what it is like, feel what it is like. I want to work and get myself ready to restart an academic year. Fantastic reason, as good as the previous one. This is a reason as good as the previous one. I want to reorganize myself. I want to work for a year, be looking after myself and in a self-sustained manner. And then during this year, get my feathers and my position and my mindset ready to restart my academic and further learning and development. Now, guys and girls, there are two things that I want you to know. The first thing is you must decide on your career before your gap year. This is probably the most important of everything we've said. Decide on your career before your gap year, because you can come back with more of an indecisiveness and less clarity in your mind. And what you have done then is you have just postponed the problem, and you could probably increase the weight of the problem. So the very important thing is get an understanding of your career path before you start your gap year. That's why I said, if the reason for your gap year is, I don't know what I want to do with my life in terms of a career, so I'm taking a gap year. You compound the problem. You increase the problem. It's not going to take the problem away. So decide on your career before your gap year. And there's a saying that I like: not knowing increases by not going. If I do not know, and if I do not go, I will not solve the problem of not knowing. Not knowing becomes increasingly more not knowing if I don't do anything about it. If I don't go somewhere and do something about the thing that I don't know. If I don't know what to do with my career, by being passive will not solve it. I need to go and do something. I need to find out, what am I going to do? It's a process. And in most instances, it's quite a hard working process. Now, guys and girls, what I will do is at the end of July, on these 4 dates, I will present a 4 evenings workshop to help you decide on your career if you are indecisive. On 27 July, we will discuss your career report. I'll tell you about the career report now. On 28 July, we will do a career summary. In other words, we will summarize your career report so that you have a one-page picture of what the components of a career should be. On 29 July, one of the capabilities of the career report is to do a match of careers to your habits or your your preferences, your behaviors, the patterns of your life, so that you see if the career that you are considering actually is a good fit to the patterns of your behavior. And then on the 30th of July, we will put together a career plan for you. It'll be a Zoom session, in other words, a session like this. How do you get your Shadow Match career report? You go to www.careermatchforme.com. On the careermatchforme.com, obviously, you will have to enter your email. Then you will receive an email from our system, the Shadow Match system. It'll give you a link to do the Shadow Match worksheet. At the end of the worksheet, you will go to your personal portal where you can buy your career report. It will cost you about the price of 2 pizzas. And then join us for these work sessions, so that if you consider taking a gap year, that you make up your mind about the broad focus of your career before you start your gap year. Or maybe once you've made up your mind about your career, because these 4 sessions will help you make up your mind about your future career plans, you might decide not to take a gap year and rather to get on with things and to get these things clarified and get on with your life. Now, because of the fact that I have been working with young people in this crisis of not knowing what to do and deciding on a gap year for many years, and I've seen many people around this, I know you have a question, not because I'm a magician, but because I've been here many times. I've been through these sessions with people probably hundreds of times minimum. So what do I think is your question? I think your question is, what do you recommend, Peter? I recommend 2 things. One thing, decide on your career first. Don't decide on the gap year now. Decide on your career first. And it's absolutely important not to start a gap year without having a very good picture of where am I going with my career when I come back. Because if you don't have that picture, you're going to you will come back to a dark room, probably darker than the one that you started off by taking the gap year. Then number 2, what do I recommend? If you do take a gap year, remember there are 4 types. These 4 types are the dead gap year, I just die for a year, I do nothing. The holiday travel gap year, where I travel the world and I learn about the world and other people. Number 3 is the adventure gap year. I join a group of people that's been facilitated through a process of adventure experiences. Number 4 is the working gap year. I am a great advocate for a working gap year. I think it's a fabulous idea. It changes the scenery for you. You take a break from the academic material and the academic world. It gives you an opportunity to experience life, and you can go and work in some distant place. Go work in Japan, or go work on the farms in the United States somewhere, or come to South Africa if you're from the States and do work here. But be careful not to be taken up in a charity work here. This is one thing that I want to caution you against. I want to put on all the warning lights. A charity gap here has a tendency for young people to get stuck in the charity. And the charity organizations have a tendency to take you for longer than that, just the year. So a charity gap here to work on some missionary station somewhere in a remote area. I know for Christians especially, this is a very, very, very great calling. Just be careful. Just be careful. If it's a charity gap here, it must be a paid for. So as Christians, we do not believe that people should work for nothing. It's not one of the principles of Christianity. So if it's a charity year, good. It's a working year, good. Do I get paid? No, then I don't go. Do I get paid? Yes, then I'll consider it. That's the only thing for a working gap year that I would be a bit of a warning light switched on that. With that, guys and girls, thank you very much. Just a reminder, you will get the recording of this. Make a note in your diary for 26, 27, 28, 29, and 30 July. We will facilitate the workshops to put you in a position to decide on your future career. And with that, thank you very much. And back to Lizette. Let's hear if you had any questions.
Thank you very much, Peter. I think that was really insightful and quite interesting facts. We do have a question. Mary is still in high school and she said that she has a question. Mary, you're welcome to unmute yourself. You will have the opportunity to do that now, and then you can ask the question. Let's just see if Mary, maybe I can unmute.
Hi, Mary.
Okay, no, she says she will type the question and then I'll present the question. No problem, I'll do that.
But Mary,
great. Any other questions in the meantime whilst we just wait for Mary's question?
Mary wants to type her question.
That's fine. I'll ask the question as soon as she's done.
Maybe I'm also better in typing than talking.
There you are. The question is, what is your view on students becoming an au pair?
I think it's a great thing. I think it's if you leave high school, for instance, and you become an au pair for a year, and it's in a different country under different conditions. Just be very careful, Mary. There's a catch in this. Sometimes the agencies that recruit these young people for working as au pairs are not fully honest. They don't tell you the full story. So what you must do is you must meet the family via Zoom beforehand, get a reference on the family, make sure that the family actually exists and that they are where they say they are. Make sure that your parents are involved in the process, because what happens is there's a lot of these recruitment agencies that recruit young people from high school to become au pairs in all kinds of weird places and under very weird conditions. And then it's a very high risk for the young person. And then another point that I just want to make, be careful of the country where they want to place you. Stay away from the Middle East, stay away from Central Southern Europe, stay away from dodgy places. If you want to become an au pair, go to the United States, go to Canada, go to London, go to the United Kingdom, go to Australia. Go to countries where there's stability, where there are human rights, and where freedom is a principle that's been followed by that government. Just be very careful of those dodgy places that are not all that cool. So be careful. Just be careful. But I think it's a great idea. It's a great learning experience, and it's a great opportunity to see the world.
Thanks, Peter. There was a comment that from Vernay said, if you decide to become an au pair for a year or two, it might also still be a good idea to do shadow match, look at your habits, look at your career report, and just make sure that being an au pair is actually something that will sit well with your natural behavior patterns. So maybe, Mary, that's a good idea, is to maybe attend the 4 sessions at the end of the month and just see whether being an au pair is something that will work for you, even if it's just for a year or two. I don't know if you want to comment on that, Peter.
Yeah, Vernay, thank you very much. That's a very clever comment, because sometimes, especially sometimes we think about something that seems to be very glamorous, and then it's not all that glamour, and it doesn't fit my behaviors and my patterns and the way in which I prefer my life to be shaped. And then after 2, 3, 4, 5 months, I'm in a very desperate situation, and then I can't get out of the contract, because what Mary will also realize is they sign you into a contract. You can't get out of it. You can't just say after 3 months, no, I don't like this, I want to go home. No. You must outlive your contract. So just be very careful, Mary, and attend our workshops at the end of July. see if being an au pair will fit your preferences and your patterns of behavior, and then be very cautious and decide after those sessions.
Shame. Mary says, thank you very much. She will do. Peter, there's one more question that came into the chat from Elmar. Elmar is somebody that's very close to Shadowmatch, one of our consultants in Namibia. Her question is, will the career report give the student pointers to help the student choose the right gap year program? In other words, very similar to what Renee's comment was, but will the career report help the student to say, you know, this is the type of gap year I should take when it's a working gap year or an adventure gap year?
Absolutely. Absolutely. The career report has got so much information that you can play with in terms of deciding on the type of gap year you want to take. The information will help every individual that must make the decision around a gap year so much easier, because in some instances it will direct you to a working gap year. If you look at the principles in the career report, it will help you get direction into the kind and the type of gap year that you need to take and consider.
Great. Thank you very much, Peter. There's no more questions in the chat. If anybody wants to ask a question, you're welcome. Pop it in the chat. Just raise your hand. Elmar says, thank you very much. Otherwise, we're done for the formalities. It is 2 minutes before 8, so well done for the time management as well, Peter. Thank you very much for joining. Ladies and gentlemen, there will be a webinar on the 14th of July on working from home and the benefits specifically for business people and employees. What makes working from home so difficult? What should you do if you are a business owner or a manager in a business to make working from home for your people more bearable and a positive experience? That will be advertised soon. And then please remember the 4 webinars at the end of the month. The recording as well as the link to book your spot for the end of the month will go out this evening or early tomorrow morning. Thank you very much for joining and have a wonderful day. Those in the US and those in South Africa, have a good evening and a good Friday tomorrow. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Hello. Hallo.
Hallo Pieter.
Daar's hy. Sit hier so 'n oorfoon.
Hi.
Jo. Kan jy hom kry?
Ja.
Daar's hy.
Hi Renee.
Daar's hy.
Gaan dit?
Goed en jy?
Dankie. Sê ek sien ons het ons career report.
Ons het ons careerklere aan.
Ja.
Nou dat dit al twee rooi aangaan vanaand, het is al twee turquoise aan, ja.
Skryf, dankie Pieter, dit was lekker. Ek het FOMO, ek moet altyd bly tot op die einde.
Ja.
Vinnige vraagie, Steve Rogers, is dit iemand wat bekend is aan julle? Ek sien dit al